Good morning. Very nice. I'm already feeling the cats are all pointing in the same direction. Very good. So it is an enormous pleasure to welcome all of you to our symposium. As it says, Shukla Symposium on the predictability in the midst of chaos. I'm going to just run through a few introductory remarks and logistics, and then we'll get started with our session. But before I do that, I first want to introduce someone who will welcome you from George Mason University. We're very honored to have the Vice President for Research from George Mason University is here today, and Professor Claudio Cioffi. Please, Professor Cioffi, if you would like to come up and say a few words.
Good morning and welcome to all of you, locals, nationals, and international visitors. I bring you the greetings of George Mason University. My name is Claudio Cioffi. I'm the Vice President for Research, but really I'm here in two capacities, wearing two hats. I'm here on behalf of President Angel Cabrera and Provost David Wu. Both were very keen on attending, and through a happenstance of calendars, it turns out that on this day at this same time, they are in our Prince William campus inaugurating a new Institute for Advanced Biomedical Research. And the reason they're there and not here is because the governor of Virginia is there, along with all the political and administrative elite of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And so they needed to be there on that occasion, but they insisted that I come, and I told them, I said, you don't have to insist because I would be there anyway. Shukla is a dear colleague and friend dating back so many years. In fact, I was just reminiscing with Jim that the very first scientific talk that I gave to a group at George Mason when I joined in 2002 was Shukla's group. And the reason why he invited a computational social scientist is because for many years I have done work on power law distributions of conflicts and wars. And of course, as many of you know, the scientist who initiated that line of investigation was none other than Louis Fry Richardson. And so we made friends right away, and ever since we've been discussing things about power laws. I won't take any more time, but I do want to express the university's appreciation for the work that Shukla and all the COLA colleagues and a much broader network of colleagues have rendered over the years. This is a truly, truly happy occasion. It's also a nice way to celebrate Earth Day, which was yesterday. And so, without further ado, I just welcome you all, and I wish you very happy and stimulating proceedings. Thank you, Shukla.
Thank you very much, Professor Cioffi. I wanted to quickly get out of the way a few logistic matters. We have had a couple of small changes in the program, which is in the printed booklet that you have when you walked in. So the most up-to-date version of the program is on the website, this colagmu.edu/symposium. And in case you don't already have that as your main page, you can get to the internet using the wireless here at the Hilton, and the username is Hilton14, all lowercase, and the password is Plaza14, all lowercase. And I'm sure none of you are going to be checking your email because all of the presentations are scintillating, as we know. But just in case emergencies happen, you have access to the internet. As most of you, I think, have discovered, registration and breakfast registration is just outside the door. Breakfast is in the room next door, and that will also be true tomorrow. It's all complimentary, part of the symposium package. We'll be doing coffee breaks in the same way with the food out in the corridor here, and lunch will be downstairs in the restaurant. The other important logistic detail about movement is that at the first coffee break this morning, we'll be doing a group picture. Now, if you look around the room, you see that there are a lot of us. And the group picture will not be in this room. It will be in a place where we can all assemble and get in the same frame of a camera. So I'm going to have to be absolutely military about moving you from this room to that location and back again. So I'm hoping that all of you will be enormously cooperative. Right? Okay, good. Also, in case, since most of you are here already, you probably already figured out how to get here, but just in case you weren't aware, this hotel is what we call Metro accessible. It's on the Red Line, and it is at the Twin Brook stop, so if you want to use Metro to avail yourself of downtown DC or anything else in the area, it's right behind the hotel. And finally, if you have any issues, problems, worries, concerns, questions, whatever you really need, please see me or Stacy Whitlock, who is just outside. Now, I wanted to also thank, there's way too many people to thank, but I will give it a shot. So firstly, I wanted to thank NOAA, who is our principal sponsor for this event. Also thank the Institute of Global Environment and Society, as well as George Mason University. There are 3 sponsors for today. I wanted to make a special shout out to Stacy, who has been helping all of you with registration and logistic details, and also Tom, excuse me, who's the fellow in the blue shirt in the back. For those of you who are speaking, if you are still working on your talk, and for those of you who are speaking tomorrow, if you're still working on your talk tonight, please make sure that you get some electronic form of presentation materials to Tom before the time of your talk, preferably at one of the coffee breaks if you haven't already done it. I also wanted to thank a number of people who helped with the program planning. I've listed their names on the board here. Most of them are faculty members in the Climate Dynamics program at George Mason University or our senior scientific staff at COLA. Now, I have an even longer list of people to thank who are speaking, who are providing services as our session chairs, and who are going to be participating in a panel discussion, which we'll do first thing tomorrow morning. And I just put a little paraphrase of President John F. Kennedy there at the bottom. I think this is the most extraordinary collection of talent, of human knowledge, and I put in parentheses, of climate, that has ever been gathered, with the possible exception of when Jules Charney dined alone. So that's, of course, Jefferson was who Kennedy was talking about. Oops, now I wanted to put in a quick advertisement for COLA because, after all, I have the podium and I got you all to come here, so you're going to have to hear the advertisement just like when you click on that thing on the internet and an ad pops up. So think of me as a pop-up ad right now. Center for Ocean Land Atmosphere Studies is a research center. We're within the College of Science at George Mason University. We conduct research to improve our understanding of climate variability, climate predictability, and change. I put the predictability word in red because that is the focus of this 2-day symposium. I also wanted to give a shout out to all of the faculty members in the Climate Dynamics program. We're fairly convinced that this is the largest group of faculty members in an academic institution in the United States focused on climate. For those of you who follow baseball, you know that you can always find a statistic that makes something unique. So that's our uniqueness. We're the biggest academically based climate dynamics PhD program in the country. And here's a list of all of the members of the faculty, tenure and tenure track, and their affiliations from their PhD. Also, I wanted to mention that we have a number of people from the COLA staff who are here today, as well as many of our PhD students who are in attendance. And so here is a list of names. I won't take the time to read all of them, but again, this is our staff. Many of them are here, and if you have any questions about COLA, they will all be happy to tell you what a great director I am. I won't go through all of this list either, but just to mention that we're very proud of our accomplishments at COLA. This is a group that has been largely the same for over 2 decades. This has been just a wonderful experience for all of us, I think. I'm speaking for myself, but I hope I'm speaking for others. We have dedicated ourselves to providing a scientific basis for a quantitative, dynamical, seasonal to decadal prediction capability. We have done this almost exclusively with the support of federal government agencies who have been funding us through grants and through the base funding of COLA for, as I said, over 2 decades. We make use of the coupled climate models that are in use in the national laboratories here in the United States, as well as in partnership with external entities in other countries. We like to take credit for having achieved several important breakthroughs in the areas of things like high-resolution climate modeling, climate applications of information theory, and we also are the home of GRADS, the Grid Analysis and Display System, which I would wager many of you in this room, and for those of you on faculties, your students can tell you, is the tool of choice for people who are doing climate analysis. We've also got a number of people in our group who have been leaders in the field, both nationally and internationally, and helping to shape the progress of climate in general. So, for today and tomorrow, our purposes are twofold. First, we would like to conduct a retrospective examination of our science, the science of climate predictability, and then also discuss the prospects for future research directions. Basically, where do we see the science going for the next decade or so? And also, our second purpose is to gather friends and colleagues to celebrate our own colleague, Dr. Shukla, who, as I mentioned in my Save the Date email, is sort of celebrating his 70th birthday. We think the probability distribution for the date on which he was born was peaking about 70 years ago. We're not entirely sure because records are a little spotty from that time. But anyway, happy birthday, Shukla. And hopefully all of you will get a chance to do what you need to do to recognize him on his special day. Now, why are we talking about predictability? Well, predictability, going all the way back to Professor Lorenz, who essentially articulated the definition of predictability, is fundamental to the understanding of climate dynamics and in particular things like attribution of climate change, projection, prediction, and also developing strategies for adaptation and mitigation. So if we think about what is the fundamental science that we need to do in order to understand climate variability and change, it is the science of predictability. It also provides a unifying theme for modeling. So because predictability is a model-based concept, we have to think about climate models and how they are helping us understand nature. So it feeds very nicely into the whole notion of Earth system modeling and how we can use predictability theory and predictability research to advance the models that we have to use for prediction. I've also offered in one of the almost 1,400 emails that are in the folder labeled Shukla Symposium, I've tried to articulate to many of you what we see as challenges. We see 3 primary challenges for our community. One is, of course, the scientific challenge. What are the fundamental aspects of climate variability and change and understanding predictability of climate? What are the fundamental questions we need to answer? And then how can we exploit that understanding to make better predictions? We also have institutional challenges, and we can delve into some of those details as we see the presentations today and tomorrow, but we really would like to try to get at this question of what structural evolution or possibly revolution is needed to more rapidly accelerate progress in our field. And I just gave one example here about the seamless view of prediction, and it has been getting a lot of, there are a number of papers in the literature about seamless prediction, and the question is that a reasonable framework for us to be using as we go forward? And then thirdly, there is a human dimension. This is, I was talking to some people last night about how our field, which is climate prediction and predictability, and its very close cousin, climate change, anthropogenic climate change, how that has morphed over into the social, economic, and political thinking of the planet. And so we have a very clear human dimension issue that we have to face in our science. And I've given a couple of examples here on the screen. For example, here in the United States, there's a very serious climate event going on the West Coast. There's a serious drought in California, has been going on for a few years. And the question is, what advice can we give to the people and the governments and the businesses that operate in California? Should we be recommending evacuation of the state in the next decade, or should we be recommending, don't worry, El Niño's coming, everything's going to be fine? So these are very important and fundamental questions that we're being asked as a community. And by the way, those same questions have to be asked for developing countries as well, and there the thinking has to be quite different. So we'll be grappling with some of this when we do our panel discussion tomorrow morning. So on to session one. Just to give you a quick overview of the session, which has changed a bit from the published program you have. We'll be starting today with the session on predictability and climate dynamics. I'm going to ask Professor Wallace to come up and chair our session. As you can see, we have 4 talks before the break. Dennis Hartman, Grant Brandstetter, Tim Del Sol, and Ben